Who's ready to come into the studio and make an absolute mess with me using Smoothon Moldstar 15 Slow on a sculpted fairy door? Now in this video I do make some mistakes, and as always here in Byerly Studios I try to share my failures along with the successes, so that way you don't just see all the primed and preem content from my channel. I make mistakes. I'm human. I'm an artist. But we learn from it, we adapt, and we just have fun creating, okay? So we're going to go ahead and use, again, Smoothon Moldstar 15 Slow to create a mold of this awesome fairy door. You'll be able to find this as a already detailed option or a casted item ready for paint on your own from my Etsy shop. This is again casted out of Smoothon SmoothCast 320 or 300 depending on what I feel like or what I have ordered. Either way, it'll be that either bright white or off-white color. That way you can have a good palette to paint from. Otherwise, guys, let's go ahead and get some awesome silicone out from Smoothon, and let's just have fun creating in the studio, and we're probably gonna make a mess. Let's have fun. Now, don't you worry yourself. I will tell you when I make a mistake, and it will come. Don't worry, it will come. Now, we're going to be working with this Sculpey Original Oven-Baked Fairy Door. I've already released the video of us really detailing that out in two different sessions. One was originally, it was just a door hanger, and then the second part of that video was just creating the actual door that you see here. I also sculpted out a few different varieties of like accessories. Like one was like a little like log mailbox. One was a chimney. One was like a little metal tin chimney and things like that. We're also going to keep on hand a lot of extra magnets. Now I'm also working to create a line of magnets, and I always try to keep these on hand and ready to go in case I have any excess silicone that I need to dump into something. Now I do get to make a mold of one of these, and what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and layer these in. First one is the pumpkins, a 3 set of pumpkins, and then the second one is actually a dinosaur egg that I had sculpted a little dino in a cracking egg, which is pretty cool. We're going to be using the hot glue method to attach these into the bottom of our Tupperware containers, and then after we make the molds, they'll just pop right out, and then we'll just have our master mold ready to go. Same thing for the little dino egg that I've already sculpted here, and this is the one that we're actually going to be successful in pouring towards the end of the video, but you'll see that here in a little bit. But just in case I don't waste any silicone, you need to just have these ready to go. That way if you do have any excess, you have something just to dump it into and make a mold of something smaller. Same thing as the other way, we are going to go ahead and use our hot glue here just to kind of like glue this down. Now, I did use a baking pan here. Don't use your baking pans. If anything, don't use your wife's baking pans. I'll just leave it at that. Go out and buy like a cheapo at Walmart, maybe like for $2 or $3, and then use that. And it ended up not even working. Like I glue this down here, and it's glued down quite well, but I don't have enough silicone to fill this entire pie pan or cake pan, and you're gonna see me just completely bungle my way through this. As I've stated before in other videos, I will show you my mistakes. I will. I'm going to show you mistakes. It's not all primed and preem content here, and I learn just like you do. And as you get more advanced in your silicone making journey, eventually you just have so much on hand, then you just don't make those mistakes because you have so much material. Now, I do like to recycle my material here, so you can use old silicone molds as long as they haven't been contaminated with anything as filler for the molds that you create. Now, it does create a lot of like ribbed and hard textures in your silicone, and you want to make sure that whatever's making contact with the actual sculpted item that you're casting or molding from the silicone is not making contact with any of these. So you want to make sure that the wet, fresh silicone is attached to the item before you place these in the mold to increase the volume. Setting a little tray of like goodie recyclables off to the side here, and then we're going to go ahead and get our Moldstar 15 Slow out from Smoothon, great brand. They're my go-to brand for mold making, at least for now. I'll probably be switching up here in the near future, maybe to an off brand, just so I can get a larger quantity for some bigger sculptures. So we'll see how that goes. If I do decide to get an off brand, I will document that in a video form. So make sure you check back later, and that will be the Peregrine Falcon sculpture that I'll be working on here in the near future. That is a commission piece. So that's going to be a big project. Looking forward to that. Go ahead and use the X-Acto knife just to go ahead and cut the tops away there. That's the easiest way I like to do it. And sometimes with the casting plastics, I'll just cut a little notch hole in there, and that's also keeps control of how much I put out. We're going to go by weight here, and we're just going to start off slow. So I'll fill up 1 cup, and then we'll make a second pour after the fact. I do go over here a little bit, if I remember correctly. Like the first pour is like perfectly 5, and like I'll almost go over here. Yep. See, there. Okay, I was perfect. What can I say? I'm just that good. An even 10 ounces there. And so we're weight by weight. We're going to mix that up until it's a nice, even light blue consistency. No white streaking there. We don't want any of that. And we're going to pour a little bit of this onto our fairy door, and then I'll brush it on. That way we make sure we push that silicone into all of those itty bitty nooks and crannies. As you can see, this is the highlight clip at the very beginning of the video that may have enticed you to click on this awesome content. And at this point, if you're liking the messiness of this awesome video, and it's about to get really messy, make sure you like and subscribe, guys. It means the world to me, and also helps us to make more art in the future. So I'm just going to make sure I push this into all the nooks and crannies, allowing it to have time for those any bubbles that may be underneath that silicone to come to the surface. And because there's so much sculpted texture here between the wood door, all of the grass tufts, the vines around the exterior, as well as the actual underneath of the mushroom top, it needs to have all that silicone pushed in there, because it might not just go in there on its own volition. You just got to make sure it goes in there. So take some of it, put it on your brush in a real thick manner, and you just push it where you need it to go. Even if it's not a brushable silicone, I still always use it as a brushable silicone. It has got to be done, and this it's the only way to really save your sculpture when you're working with like a lot of details. Now, if I'm working with like something like a baseball, if I'm sculpting like a baseball, and it has no hard edges and not a lot of sculpted detail, and it's very smooth, then yeah, you probably don't need to do like a brush on. But if you're working with a lot of details like this has, then yeah, go ahead and take your time, do your brush on. It is a slow silicone setup, so you don't have to rush, and you can just make sure you get full coverage. Now you just mix up a little bit, you do your brush on, give it a few minutes to set up. That's fine, it's no worries at all. And then you can kind of just go from there. Now I'm going to start pouring this in here around all these little accessories, and I'm just going to be real with you guys. Like I even threw some items in there just so I didn't waste any like space there, because I had not sculpted that many accessories at the time. So I'm just like, I'll just throw some things in here randomly and just make some little castable paintables from it, and then me and my kids can just enjoy the process just painting some of these, right? Logical sense, right? I'm just going to paint a little bit, and then it will cast them, and then it'll be all like Humpty Dory. It'll be great. It'll work out fine, right? It'll work out fine, right? Maybe, maybe not. Now, it did not take me very long to sculpt the accessories, so it's not like I'm losing a whole lot of time there. Our main focus is the fairy door here. And in the long run, the fairy door is a success. So the whole video in itself is a success, but we do have some setback here. Now, one thing that you'll know if you ever start to make silicone molds, even if you're like advanced and you make a dumb mistake, it's just like you always have that little fluttering, like frantic feeling, especially when you're a beginner. If this is something new that you're getting into, watch some of my old videos, learn from these mistakes that I make, because you're likely going to make the same one, especially if you're trying to make like large items, right? Or like do multiple pieces in the same like silicone mold. I highly recommend you go ahead and just make molds and cast one big item at a time. Just make it one big. Make sure it's a easy Tupperware container that fits the item absolutely perfectly, and then just embrace that. Make the one item, make the one single mold, and then move on. Okay. And now I'm gonna go ahead and start to introduce these little cuttable pieces here. These are the recycled pieces, and all this does is it increases the volume of the silicone mold, so I'm able to get more out of it. Now, because I did the original silicone brush on mold, even if one of the outside edges of these additives are making contact with the items below, because there's brushed silicone on there, it doesn't matter. Okay. But if you just put these on there and then poured your silicone, likely one of these hard edges could be making contact with one of your detailed edges or some of the wood grain, and it could change the way because it might trap bubbles or not allow the silicone to settle in all the way. We're not going to use a vac chamber, guys. I don't want you to get hung up on vac chambers. That's why I haven't used mine in this channel at all. I will eventually. One day I'm going to break out the vac chamber, and we're going to start to use it on a consistent basis, just because we're going to be at that stage. But my YouTube channel is designed to have a progress from beginning to intermediate to advanced, and I want you to enjoy that journey as well. So just be aware that we're not going to pull all the air out of this. We're just going to leave it as it is. We're going to pour it. But there are things that we can do to increase our success, and that's why we did the brush on to capture all those details, and then we're just going to go ahead and do the pour. Now, I almost have enough to pour in this and get a full coat of coverage over all of the items. Almost. Okay, almost. Now, the way that the fairy door was originally sculpted, I probably could have captured all those details pretty easily because it had a lower profile. But now that I've increased the overall size of the fairy door, I don't really have that much volume of silicone. And I tried it anyways, right? I keep going, I keep pouring in more in. I poured the residuals that I had of the container in. And it's just not enough. And I know at this point, deep down in my heart, that it's not enough. But I'm already here. Let's go ahead and pour it all in, right? We got this, right? We got this. We'll figure it out. It's slow. You got time to figure it out, and then you have to frantically find something to put the silicone in because this container doesn't work out. I don't have enough silicone. But I need to cast this item. I need to get it off my list of things to do. So I'm like, well, let me think about what I can do. So I look around frantically and I find another Tupperware container. And it's actually like I don't know what it is. It's like a photo box Tupperware container. And in all honesty, I'm going to have to buy my wife a brand new one. So I'll go out and buy like a $7, $5, $7 Tupperware container for her some photos, but it was sitting off to the side and it had nothing in it. It was serving no purpose. So I'm trying to put more volume by putting some more of those hard pieces in, and it's raising the level of the silicone, but not by as much as I would like to see. Like if all of these hard pieces were not in the silicone, yeah, I would be in trouble. Like it would never even be as high as it is. But just because the pan is so wide. So I'm going to continuously try this. I'm like, well, maybe I'll push just enough in that it'll just barely go over the top of the fairy door. Maybe, right? And my hands are sticky. I'm dirty. It is what it is. I just kind of embrace the dirtiness sometimes, but like it's just not cutting it. So I grab a hold of it and I pop the hot glue down and I just sit it as flat as I can on the bottom of this Tupperware container. And we're going to go ahead and just slowly transition all of this stuff, including the hard pieces. Like the item's already covered in wet silicone. So I'm just going to go ahead and lift it up. And we're going to go ahead and I was trying to pop out some of the accessories to save them as well. Like put them off to the side. I can just finish them later. And it's an absolute mess. It's just, and I'm just like, I'm not rushing it at this point, but I do go into a time lapse, right? But I'm just going for it, man. I'm just going for it. And just pouring it in. So once I know that I'm going to get full coverage over this item here, the fairy door in this Tupperware container, I'm going to let it go. But I'm going to kind of level it off, push some of those hard pieces in there a little bit, it doesn't have a full flat surface on the top of it. So when I come back in later on down the road and I make a silicone mold for something else, then I will top it off and level it off. And that's the same for this one. So as I stated earlier, when we put those extra sculpted items in this little Tupperware container here, two-sided mold, that I had enough of the leftovers to do the dinosaur egg magnet, and that's what we had. So I did pour that one as well, and we were able to cast that and paint it in another video. So that's probably all released at this point, so you can always go check that out if you'd like to. It's a cool video. It's very simplistic, very easy. But because I was using the residuals of those hard leftover silicone pieces from other molds that I just don't need anymore, they just don't have level surfaces on the top, right? That's the only downside. If you're a perfectionist, it's going to bother you. But as long as you're not worried about it, it doesn't hurt the casting process when you're making your molds, your items at all. So it works out fine. Like I said before, I'll come back later on when I have another big kit of silicone, and I will just top these off. And as long as they're not dirty or nothing, if they have residue on them, I'll have to wipe them down really good with some alcohol or something and let it dry. But I'll just add another layer later on, and it will just add to. It will make the bottom of the mold that lays flat against the surface of the desk flat. Okay. But because I don't have that flat surface and I use those leftover hard pieces, I just have to make sure that the item's pretty level when I pour my casting plastic into it. So we're going to pop this out. Popping it out the first time is the hardest part of the entire process. And the bigger the item, the harder it is, especially on like one-piece molds like this. So we're just going to go ahead and remove it. Now, look how clean that is. It looks great, right? That's the bottom of it. So that's the side that we'll be pouring into. And because I did not glue this one down into this Tupperware container like I did the other one, we just laid it in there. It did have some silicone underneath it. So what I'll do is I'll just take my time and I will cut out the item here with a really sharp X-Acto knife. Don't cut your fingers, guys. And we're going to go ahead and make our opening that we'll be able to pour into. So we'll always be able to pour into it like this, and then we'll just self-level it at the very back of it as we pour it in. It's going to work out great. So overall, the video was a success because this is the only thing that my goal was to make a mold of. The fairy door. I wanted to make a mold of it so I could start selling it, but also so that I could cast it for my daughter to paint it for her room. Again, this is originally a tooth fairy door that will hang on her door to her bedroom, and the tooth fairy will visit this and drop off any kind of monies that she may receive from losing teeth. The fairies really are attracted to these styles of doors, and me and my daughter enjoyed the process of creating and sculpting this together. She did a little bit of work here and there throughout the process. She had a lot of input, and then we just kind of ran with it from there and just had fun in the creation process. But the fairies are really attracted to this. It's already attracted the fairy 2 or 3 times to get the teeth, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool overall. It's very intricate. So here we are jumping into the future a little bit. I've already gone ahead and cleaned out the mold here of any residual Sculpey original clay. And now we're going to go ahead and do a first pour. So I'm going to do a kind of a slush pour to begin with, just to make sure I get all of that into the nooks and crannies, because there are a lot of original nooks and crannies in this sculpted item until I really break in the mold. As it breaks in, some of those details will disappear. But we'll go ahead and just pour the slush mold in here, and then as this kind of cures up a little bit, we'll start to intensify the pour layers because we know that those details will already be captured. I do enjoy the time-lapse portions of this content because you get to see that Smoothon SmoothCast 320 off-white cure up, and it's just really cool. It's a really cool process to see it kind of like set up, and the two parts really cause that chemical reaction, and it's just enjoyable, very much so. I actually spilt a little bit there, and I hate it when I do that. It's just wasted material. I hate wasting anything, guys. I just really do, and I know it's naturally going to happen as we make things because it's stuff that we've never made before. But because everything that we make is unique in a lot of ways. But I still hate wasting material, and I think that everybody's probably like that. Now here I am self-leveling this. I stated before that I was going to have to do this. I was going to have to do this at some point just to get a nice level back on it, because the bottom of it has those hard original silicone pieces that I had recycled. And because it doesn't have that, self-level flat bottom, it just means I have to put a little bit of extra legwork into it. But it's going to get set up pretty fast with the fast set, and we don't have to put a lot of effort into it though. So it's pretty good overall. I'm very happy with it, and the casting process is turning out very good. And the mold is a complete success, because even though we made some mistakes, it worked out pretty good overall. I'm getting successful casts out of it on a consistent basis with high levels of detail. So it's definitely a win in my book. Go ahead and throw that excess away there. That's one great thing about the plastic pour, is it just peels right up off any surface, and you just throw it away. And you can always reuse different pieces of plastic in other pours as well. So like, let's just say one of these didn't work out, I can always like completely cut it apart with a saw or something and throw this into a large massive cast, and that would take up volume inside the mold on a bigger item. So you can always recycle things. That's the good thing about the plastic or the mold making process, is a lot of these items and materials really do attach to each other, but you just want to use it the right way. So the overall mold came out clean, and then of course there's our original. We're going to put that back in the Tupperware container there. That's why I use Tupperware containers in all my mold making, is you can just seal them away dust free. Now I did get a little bit of pooling here and there, so some of those details did get kind of knocked out. But overall, look how great this looks. Now you can see it's a lot different looking as opposed to the original sculpted version of that. But I'm so definitely happy with how it turned out, and now I can mass produce this as people order it off my Etsy shop. Now this is a flat door, so you can use command strips with it, or even magnets if you want to. I can drill holes for magnets in the process and have those already set and ready to go. I will have to do a little bit of sanding on this back side, just because it has a little bit of an overhang lip from the casting process. If I don't over pour it, then I get less of that, but I'm not really too worried about that. It does have a good smooth flat bottom, but I'll probably sand that as well, depending on what the customer is using it for. And all those little polka dots on the top, as well as those hand printed pushed in textures, survived. All of the frills on the bottom of the mushroom, as well as all of those little rock textures around the wooden door. Even our cross pieces of twigs survived the process, and of course that is a notch out, so that we can put we can Dremel that interior portion out, and also put the little stained glass window in there. I do have a little bubble right here. Now that was a natural bubble that happened during the sculpting baking process, because I had layered multiple layers of clay on top of each other, and when it baked, it kind of buckled them apart, and it created a natural bend in the wood door. How cool is that? Not intentional, but very cool. And then of course we have the bottom part here. We have all of these little vine textures, as well as the tufts of grass. We have the dirt foundation around the very bottom, which will look different when it's all painted out, of course. And then we have, of course, little leaves here and there. Now some of this didn't cast properly, like there's one little end of the vine that didn't cast. I'll just Dremel that down. It'll be as if it was never meant to be there to begin with, and that's just part of the process. What do you think, you guys? I hope you enjoyed the process so far. It turned out to be an awesome, cute little design. What did I tell you guys? I said that I was going to make some mistakes in this video, and absolutely, without a doubt, I did. It was pretty bad. But I was able to save it while just throwing on a latex glove and transferring it into another container that was a lot less profile. Did that mean I was unable to kind of make molds of the accessories I plan to go with this? Yeah, I kind of boogered that up. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a fail. I was able to cast the main door without fail, and I look forward to kind of re-sculpting or reusing some of those other sculpted textures that I had made previously. So I'll come in the next few weeks, and I'll make some more wooden stakes, or little fences, and maybe some mailboxes, and maybe like a little dragonfly, things like that to go along with this. And those will be sellable options on my Etsy shop to go along with the overall fairy collection here on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't had the opportunity to like and subscribe, make sure you do so. I have a lot more videos, not just coming out in the mold and casting processes, but also just in the fairy garden collection, and that's what this kind of falls into. Otherwise, guys, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you kind of hanging with me during my failures along with my successes. And I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully I won't make any mistakes then. You never know.